What Charles Manson did for the 60s, Sid and Nancy did for the 70s. He'd always drew the heat, the bouncers, the cops.
She was definitely the Yoko of the scene in a way. Nobody liked her.
He was the true anti-culture person.
Built in 1884, the Chelsea Hotel is an iconic New York City landmark known for the notable artists that used to live here. People like Patti Smith, Janis Joplin, Madonna, Leonard Cohen, Leonard Bernstein all used to call it home. In the late 1970s, punk rock was on the rise, but in 1978, the hotel became the site of a mystery which still lingers to this day. Nancy Spungen was found stabbed to death inside her hotel room. Her boyfriend, former Sex Pistols bassist Sid Vicious, was the cops' only suspect. She was 20 years old. He was charged with her murder, but the case never got the resolution people were hoping for. For InsideEdition.com, I'm Sal Bono, and this is New York Gritty. New York City in the 1970s was crime-ridden, bankrupt, and crumbling.
New York City was gorgeous back then. I mean, it was burned out buildings. It looked like a giant movie set. You know, everybody's now trying to recreate 70s New York for their TV shows and stuff. But it was so unbelievably damaged.
It's a time when the inmates ran the asylum. There were no boundaries, no laws, no rules. Punk came about. You had to be careful. And there was a lot of violence, a lot of stabbings, killings, shootings, drugs. There was a lot of it, but, you know, people were so free.
It was this New York that a group of people called punks felt most at home. Punk rock was raw energy and distorted sound. One of its most famous bands was the Sex Pistols from England. Defined by their disheveled wardrobe, dirty appearance, and anarchist attitudes, punks were among those from the counterculture who gravitated to the Chelsea Hotel.
I mean, everyone romanticized it. It was dirty and grubby. I remember waking up there. I went home with some girl who lived there, and just thinking, this place is like a mental hospital. You know, where there's no security. You know, everyone was just so crazy. I mean, it was kind of cool in a way.
There was a certain floor, I don't remember, that you didn't want to go past without worrying about getting robbed or mugged, and you wouldn't want to spend the night if they had a room available on those floors.
Two of the hotel's most notorious guests occupied room 100, Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen. Friends say their relationship was fueled by addiction to drugs and rock and roll. They'd met in London and toured with the Sex Pistols. When the band broke up, the couple moved to New York City.
Sid was an idiot. You know, he looked great, though. People said they would walk behind them in Times Square because money would always be falling out of their pockets.
Was it because they never had money before? They're just like, I don't know what to do with this now.
No, it's that they demanded to get paid in cash.
Sid and Nancy had the run of the Chelsea.
There were a lot of instances going on in there and complaints from neighbors, but all swept under the rug. He was treated like a celebrity, you know, at Max's, CBGB's and everything, because, you know, punk was a big thing at the time in New York City, and he captured it, you know, and he was it, he lived it.
How long did you live inside the Chelsea?
I moved out the day that she died.
On October 12, 1978, Nancy was found dead in her room at the Chelsea. She had bled out from a stab wound to her abdomen. Victor Colicchio says he and a female companion were in room 100 the night before.
Yeah, we were there, and we got a phone call, and the phone call was from Nancy, and she had wanted to trade some pot for pills or pills for pot. So we went and Sid was passed out on the bed, the couch there. There was another guy in the room, I don't remember his name. And I remember she did have money with her.
This is Nancy.
Yeah, you know, it was like sitting right there in like a bag or something. I remember seeing it even on the floor. And we hung out a little bit, and you know, we left. When I woke up the next day and left, there were reporters and police, everybody all over the place. And I remember thinking that the guy who was in the room knows I saw him, and that for all I know, he may be afraid that I'm gonna go, you know, become a witness.
Nancy was stabbed sometime after midnight and bled out for hours before she was found. The knife, which was found in her room, had reportedly been wiped clean. But the cops only had one suspect, Nancy's boyfriend, Sid Vicious. He was arrested that day and charged with her murder.
I first met Sid Vicious not too long after he was first arrested in New York. He was pretty fragile. He was, kind of erratic. I have actually the old original statement that was disclosed at the time he was first arrested. And the first officer that reported the event said that he didn't know what happened. He wasn't there. He discovered the body at 10:30. He wished they would shoot or kill him. And he then identified himself and Nancy Spungen. That's what he said to the first officer. He never said that I killed Nancy. At least initially. He made a lot of statements at different times, but when he was first confronted, that's what he said.
Sid was bailed out of jail, and according to those close to him, he spiraled further out of control, using drugs more heavily and landing back in jail for an unrelated offense. While his personal fate hung in the balance, for many, this tragedy had broader implications.
What was your reaction when you first heard that she died?
I just thought, oh, it's over, because you cannot recover from someone murdering somebody, It's just too awful. Punks became, murderous, crazy people, You look, they shoot dope and act like imbeciles and kill each other,
As the embodiment of the punk scene, Sid and Nancy's relationship didn't help that image. Despite her problems, those who knew her say Nancy didn't garner a lot of sympathy from others. They said she was brash, abrasive, almost controlling, and extremely jealous over Sid.
She was definitely the Yoko of the scene in a way. Nobody liked her. Said she's using him for his money. She's a
Sid, what are you doing? No, you can't have any peace until you finish at least one song.
Do you feel bad for Nancy? That over the years she's gotten a bum rap.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's undeserved, And he loved her, and that's what people have to remember. And I say the same thing about Yoko Ono. You want to say, but John loved her. You should respect that and treat it as that and nothing more. They loved each other, for whatever reasons.
While the cops zeroed in on Sid, things weren't adding up for the people who knew him.
Everybody swore it was Sid and all that, but I just never had that feeling,
Why not?
And the neighbor didn't hear, an argument or anything. I said if he would have killed her, the whole hotel would have heard it, because they did have some fights you can hear,
They were always causing drama with each other, so the other one would have to pay attention to each other. I think she might have stabbed herself and think Sid would have come to her rescue, and Sid, didn't get up. He was passed out, But she was probably very, very high herself.
There was a lot of talk about him having a pact with his girlfriend that if she went or he went, either from a drug overdose or something else, that they'd both go. And he said that a lot. He'd always said he wanted to be with Nancy Spungen.
Sid Vicious said as much during his last known interview in late 1978 with BBC's Nationwide.
Are you having fun at the moment?
Are you kidding? No, I'm not having fun at all.
Where would you like to be?
Under the ground.
Are you serious?
Sid is no longer vicious, he's dead. His nude body found in a Greenwich Village apartment, spoon and syringe nearby. The heroin overdose may have been accidental.
Sid Vicious didn't get his day in court. In February 1979, he was found dead here inside this West Village apartment building of a drug overdose. He was 21 years old. Even though Sid didn't get a chance to tell his side of the story, people that knew him say they don't believe he would have been convicted of killing Nancy.
I think he would have been found innocent. I don't really think that Sid killed Nancy. I might be wrong. This is just my own opinion. But they were very, very high on Tuinals that night. I don't think Sid knew if he did it or not, I think he really was that out of it, Well,
there certainly were no eyewitnesses. There were a lot of people around at the time of the murder. There were a lot of reasons people could have wanted to take their money. They certainly spent most of their time in that room in a highly intoxicated state. Anything could have happened.
Authorities in New York say Sid Vicious was the only suspect in Nancy Spungen's death. The case is now closed.
I mean, Sid kind of made their case for them. The knife was there. No one else in the room. She's dead. Even though I don't know if he did it or not. and he might have been acquitted. But no, because, you know, New York City is very fast. You know, there was probably 20 more murders on the district attorney's address that day, you know?
Sid and Nancy had become an anti-Romeo and Juliet. The tragic end of their relationship and their lives still hold many questions 40 years later.
Was it murder? And if so, who did it? Sid, the mystery man Victor Colicchio saw? Or someone else? Did the couple have a suicide pact as James Merberg theorized, that Sid backed out of it last minute? Or as Legs McNeil suggests, was it Nancy's final dramatic attention-seeking act?
I personally like that they never find out, you know.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, people that want to believe it, you know, inflames their fantasy of what punk is, you know. People that don't want to believe it would never believe it, you know. But it's you know, it's punk to keep it a mystery, you know. It is what punk is about.